الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khair for joining us for the first IDSoc forum session of the semester. Inshallah, they will be happening every Tuesday at 6 o'clock in the same room. So the format of today's session is going to be, the brother here is going to give a short presentation, about 20 minutes, and then we'll have a little Q&A and a discussion, inshallah, and then refreshments in the back afterwards. So today's IDSoc forum is on what makes and breaks great civilizations. What is the greatest asset that we as individuals do not take advantage of? What is the greatest wealth of a nation? So I have with me here Yusif, Hanif, who is the Ideological Society President, who is going to give a short presentation. So without further ado.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa ahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaykum assalam.
The true wealth of a nation, that which makes and breaks great nations and civilizations. Before I start the topic, I want to ask you guys first, what are great wealth, what are great assets, treasures countries have? What do you guys think? What comes to mind as great assets countries have?
Military power?
Military power, oil. You can extend that to resources, natural resources. Gold, natural resources, money, finance, being rich.
Science,
Technology.
Weber University. Education.
I'm not really sure about that one. Education. Now those are all great points about a nation. Great points or great assets a nation would have. But I don't think they're quite the true wealth of a nation. They're all material power. To illustrate this actually, I'm going to have a look at, take a case study. I'm going to compare two countries, the United Kingdom and Egypt, and have a look at the material wealth that they have, the things which you just said now. For starters, Egypt's size is 4 times that of the UK. The army, because I like talking about the army as the epitome of the material strength of a nation. The British army, or the British military, has 205,330 active personnel, compared to 778,000 in Egypt. Britain has 181,720 reserves. Egypt has 800,000. Okay, let's look at natural resources. Britain has potatoes. It's got coal, it's got minerals. But it's not compared to Egypt. With its natural gas, Egypt with the Nile, one of the most fertile valleys in the world. It has oil as well, Egypt. It has gold. It also has a lot of the same minerals which exist in the UK. Egypt has, if I'm going to add, strategic points like the Suez Canal, which a lot of the world's trade passes through. Britain may have the Irish Sea, but it's not as important as the Suez Canal, is it? Yet, which of the two countries plays a bigger role in international politics, or commands more respect? Britain or Egypt? Britain. Which of the two countries, Pakistan or France, commands more respect? France. Which one seems to have more in terms of material wealth? Would that be a larger population, more better agricultural standards, more resources, larger army? It's Pakistan, not France. And the same can be said about so many other Muslim countries: Turkey, Iran, Indonesia, even Saudi. Immense material wealth. But it's not us who are, it's not the Muslims who are at the forefront. They're not the ones leading the world. It's the Western powers. further this point about material wealth not being the true wealth of a nation, let's have a look at the Muslim world. Despite all this material wealth, despite having so many natural resources, natural occurring resources, despite having large armies in single countries, if you add them together, you get much bigger. Despite having so many strategic locations, from the Straits of Gibraltar, the Straits of the Bosphorus, Suez Canal, Red Sea, the Arabian Gulf, the Bay of Bengal, etc. So many. Despite all of that, actually let me add this as well. Despite having so many minds studying at some of the best universities around the world, after all of this, the Muslim world suffers from widespread poverty. Yes? Widespread illiteracy, widespread bribery and corruption, disunity, infighting, violence. And here I want to focus on this one a bit more. Consider Syria and what's going on in Syria. How many people have been killed in Syria? How many people have been pushed out of their homes and expelled, forced to leave their towns? How many refugees have been created by the Syrian situation? Syria is surrounded by closest countries to it, barring Israel, speak the same language, hold the same beliefs, worship the same God. Yet this disunity that exists in the Ummah, not just in Syria, is stopping other countries to get involved in Syria. And this unity is something that's on a macro level, but if you look at even the Muslim communities, you find this unity prevailing. You find division, rivalry. From an Islamic perspective also, there's a lot of bid'ah and shirk which has become more widespread nowadays. Introducing new things into the deen. Bad infrastructure. I'm not just talking about roads, but even hospitals, schools, universities. A lot of the people who study from back home, they come here to study. The skills they get, they can't apply back home. They have to stay and find a job over here. In the West or in Europe or America, maybe Japan, China. They can't go back to Pakistan, can they? They can't really go back to Egypt. Because the infrastructure doesn't allow for their skills to be applied. We can go on. No dignity, no honor. The blood of the Muslim has become worthless. All we have to do is just look at one example of the Rohingya Muslims and what's going on with them. Because they're not Bengali, the Bengali government doesn't care about them. Not that he even cares about his own people, for example. But the bond of Islam doesn't matter anymore. There's so many other examples we can bring. The Gujarat massacre in India, what did Pakistan do? In Bosnia, the Srebrenica massacre. Who tried to help them? A few individuals from around the world tried to go and fight maybe. What did Muslim countries do? Whereas if you look at Western countries, they will go to great lengths for one citizen of their own country, just one. You have the example of, this is from Israel, Gilad Shalit, the Israeli soldier who was captured by Hamas. And Israel made a deal with Hamas where, I can't remember the exact figure, where they exchanged over 1,000 Palestinian prisoners from Israeli camps, from Israeli prisons, for that one soldier, just for him. Britain, when some of his troops from the Navy were caught by Iran for trespassing in Iranian waters, it became a massive problem. Even if they were not troops, like the hikers, American hikers in Iran, they value their own citizens. Muslims don't seem to be valued by anyone, unless you have a passport. And the British government values you more than the Egyptian government or the Pakistani government. This is so many more can say. The corrupt get promoted, the sincere persecuted. This is the Muslim world. What is clear from this, for me, is two things. One is that all these problems in the Muslim world are things which cannot be ignored. As a Muslim, you cannot ignore this. Why is it that our ancestors left the Muslim world and came here despite all this material wealth? The corruption and oppression is sickening in the Muslim world. That's why they left. Taxes are high, prices are high, wages are very low. So many other things. Our parents left, our grandparents, for us at least, left back home because of the very bad situation that exists there. And it only gets worse. It's something which we cannot ignore if we consider ourselves to be part of someone. If we consider those in Syria to be closer to us than our friends and our course. People who may help us in our revision, they may save us with that one coursework. We value them here. We want to give them something in return. Someone who I've never ever met before in Syria or Bangladesh or even the Philippines, Muslims in the Philippines. He's closer to me. He should be. That's how it should be. The second thing which is clear is that material wealth isn't really the true wealth of a nation. Otherwise, Muslim countries and the third world generally wouldn't be like this. They would be the leaders if this was the case, but except the leaders of the Western countries. So why is there this difference? Why is there this difference in terms of the systems that exist in the countries, the laws, the behavior of the people? Why is it so different? Why is it that it's common to think that Muslims are so late? Well, the Englishman isn't. And the Japanese is unbelievable, he's always on time. But the Muslim is always late. It's not an Asian thing, it's not an Arab thing, it's not a Somali thing, all Muslims are late. Why? Why is it that, I always used to get this, I used to get this question in Sudan where my family's from. How's life in the UK? I hear they've got roads, they have traffic lights. The hospitals actually heal you, they don't kill you. It's all superficial. There's a reason why. There's a reason why they are in a better situation than Muslims generally. I'm not going to give the answer straight away. I'm going to poke at it, come to it. Who amongst us remembers, or you will not remember it, but huge history, the Orange Revolution in the Ukraine? The Orange Revolution in the Ukraine, during the breakup of the Soviet Union, just before that. People demonstrated, there was a revolution going on, and the government sent the military to stand against the protesters. The military, like I said before, being the epitome of material strength, where you can exert your power, you can enforce your laws with the military. The guns of the soldiers of the Ukrainian army turned from the protesters against the government. Why is that? Let me make it obvious. Let me get closer. Imagine you're a hitman. You get paid to shoot people. Your whole life's about it. I give you a job. I want you to shoot President X and I give you Y money. You're a hitman and you do it. Now what if I said, I'll give you X amount of money, I'm going to shoot your mother. It's a bit different from shooting that random president, is it? You may not want to do it. Why? Go a bit further now, and I'm still sticking to guns. A quote, one of my favorite quotes, by Joseph Stalin, the chairman of the Soviet Union, probably the most famous communist leader. He said, and as a dictator, as dictators tend to be more honest and direct than democrats, he said, ideas are more dangerous than guns. We would not let our enemies have guns. Why would we let them have ideas? So the answer we given here. The true wealth of a nation is the intellectual wealth of a nation, the ideas it carries. It is why that hitman won't shoot his mom, even though money may be very important to him. He's got a separate concept, which is that money is more valuable than our money. That is why the Ukrainian army decided not to shoot at its people against the government, for whatever reason. Maybe they were convinced that the communist regime had to fall, or they were convinced that these people, they are my people, I shouldn't shoot at them. These governments or the rulers, I don't relate to them. They are my enemy, not my people. The ideas you carry decide your behavior. The ideas you carry decide your conduct. And subsequently, even as nations, whether you will progress or not. And though it may seem a simple idea at the moment, it's quite profound. Because I'm trying to say to you that the Muslims don't have intellectual wealth. The West does. The example of the two, the example of the two would be like the difference between an entrepreneur and your average Joey. If an entrepreneur loses his material wealth, i.e. his money, he loses his job, he can always get a new one. He can always start up his own business. He can always join any other business and make it better. He's got the creativity, he's got the experience, he's got the ideas, he's probably studied something in economics. He knows what he's doing. He has the advantage of your average Joey who, once he loses his job, all he can do is work for someone else. All he can do is be a follower. And once he gets that job, then he has to worry about losing it. And that's actually how the Muslim world is today. The entrepreneur is Britain, it's America. The employee, the follower is the Muslim world. The entrepreneur will make the business. He will start a new idea. And the employee just follows it. That's how it is. The Muslim world, all it does at the moment is imitate. The reason why the West is so significant is because they lead people on their ideas. They get people convinced of their ideas and let people follow them. I'll be blunt here, but the only time in history where Islam was the dominant culture, Islam was the dominant civilization, is when we had our intellectual wealth. We lived by Islam. Now I'm going to introduce something here which I'm sure many of you have already heard. It's the word ideology. And I am going to define it as, because there will be so many different definitions, and ideological society defines it as what your viewpoint in life is, the concepts and beliefs you have, beliefs and values you have, which are interlinked with what your concept or your viewpoint in life is, and subsequently all your actions, all your, in terms of state level, your laws and systems are made to express your beliefs. So if you look at the West, for example, the simple belief is secularism, that there should be separation between the God and politics, so man rules. And they've extended upon it, I'm not going to go through detail, but to many centuries of the Renaissance, as they call it. You get their beliefs and values of freedom, of equality, of democracy, of the system of capitalism. All of this now comes naturally on from their beliefs of man rules. So whoever is at that time deciding who will make the rules. Let's have a look at the Muslims. So the Muslim believes in Muhammad Rasulullah as a basic idea. Yeah? Islamic ideology should be that our belief, our iman, our aqidah should lead on to systems and laws, whether for the state or actions for us as individuals, which all emanate from, we're all linked back to our belief. The Muslim world today does this. We say, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. So, Tawheed, Allah is the one who created us, Allah is the one we obey in all matters. Then we go and apply laws which contradict Islam from the West. To give an example, Egypt, alcohol is not bad, put it that way. Or Turkey, where the hijab was banned. Or you guys can probably think of examples as well. Nationalism. This is my second point. We believe in brotherhood. We then divide ourselves based on nationalities. There's no coherency in this idea now. There's no link between our beliefs and the way we act, our beliefs and our laws, our systems. When we did have that coherency, when we did have that link back in history, when we did have Islam implemented as a complete ideology, a complete way of life, we were the leading nation. We had technological progress. We had scientific progress. We did lead other nations. People did want to copy us. People wanted to come study in our universities, not us trying to go to someone else's universities. And if it is put, the two ideologies in their pure form, only two ideas, if they put exactly as they are, together, then always the superior one will always prevail. The superior one will always defeat the other one. And we don't believe that Islam is superior. It is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He knows us best. But as long as the situation is today, where we just, as nations, as people, imitate everything the West does, the Pakistan is never going to surpass France. Egypt is never going to surpass the UK. Algeria is never going to surpass Germany. Saudi is never going to surpass Russia. So there's two things I want to say. Two things. One is, the true worth of a nation is its ideas. And the true worth of an individual is his ideas. Secondly, we need to, as individuals, start relating everything that occurs around us, everything we see, back to our belief. That's how Westerners do it. I'm not here trying to copy them, but that's how it should be done. That's how you think ideologically. So when a Westerner sees a problem, Western governments, when they see issues, they always look at it and say, okay, how do we solve it from our values? We don't compromise our values when we're trying to solve it. So let's say alcohol, for example. Yeah? There's so many crimes related to alcohol in this country. But they would never ban alcohol because that goes against personal freedoms. The right of the individual to attain his happiness. So instead, we make laws like, let's change the age limit by which someone is allowed to drink, or is allowed to buy, have more policing, etc. But they will never ban alcohol. Because banning alcohol would then go against their beliefs. For us in Islam, in this specific scenario, we don't have that problem because we've already banned alcohol from the beginning. But we will have other problems. Naturally, humans will face problems. And they need solutions. And Islam has those solutions. Now, there's two things which I want to end upon. One is, actually they're both linked to next week's topics, next week, the week after. So one is regarding imitation. Imitating the West in terms of the systems which contradict Islam, or just blindly just imitating, not even thinking about anything ourselves, led to our decline. But sometimes we may have to imitate. Next week, inshallah, we'll be talking about, the title is To Imitate or Not to Imitate. And we'll be talking about progress as well. How to measure progress in a nation or in an individual. Because I don't want to make a distinction, I don't want to separate the two. Islam is for the individual as well as for society. And the second thing is, if I'm going to think about something, if I'm going to look at a problem, let's say the Ummah, a problem in the Ummah, Syria, there's a problem there, I want to solve it from Islam. I need to know what Islam says. Or I have issues with my studies, I can't balance between things. I need a solution for this. Even though something maybe small, I need a solution for this from Islam. If I don't know what the Islamic solution is, I can't really do much. So the third topic is, with great knowledge comes great responsibility. And there, we'll have Q&A inshallah, and we'll just jump to the open discussion where we can elaborate more and give you input in this topic inshallah.
جزاك الله خير.